Hello, everybody. Welcome to SRA 365. I'm, of course, Professor S, and this is today's lecture. So we got a lot of things to cover today. So let's just get into it. It's all these things, general class stuff, go over the practice problems, reminder about the lab. I'll go over things that are due, talk about probability, and then there's some walkthrough things that we'll talk about. So anyways, first thing, class stuff. Let's get down to business. So office hours. Me and the teaching team have office hours. They're posted. If you look at the virtual classroom hotspot, it's like at the top of the modules page. You'll see where you can access the channel where you got this information, and then there's the office hours. You can also, there should be a link in the syllabus that goes to our office hours page. For me, you have to book hours, and it's on Mondays and Wednesdays, but you can't do the day of, so that I can, at the beginning of the day, figure out what my schedule is going to be. Also, as a reminder that these videos are intended to be a supplement, not a replacement for going to class. So if you're sick, please don't come to class, use these videos. Or if you miss class for whatever the reason, but this isn't intended to be like instead of going to class. This is just like for those unfortunate instances where you can't make it to class. Or if you want to review some of the slides and stuff that we talked about in class, this is a good way to do this, okay? But this is not the same thing as class because I do things like I talk about the practice problems. People ask questions and get some answers. Anyways, let's talk about the practice problems. And by talk about, I'll show you what they are. In class, I went over what these, how to do these things. This is number 2, the thought process behind them, other ways to do them, that sort of thing. This is the last step. All right, now let's talk about the labs. So for this lecture, you just had the first lab due. There's a new lab that's available. It's going to be due next Wednesday. Make sure you do all the work in the script while you're doing the questions. The idea is like you're not doing the script before you do the questions. You're kind of working on those at the same time. That's the way they're intended to be used. And then make sure when you're done, you copy and paste all your work for that session into the lab. Okay, so it's not complete the script and then do the questions. It's intended to do them all at once. Okay, so don't forget, make sure you work on the lab that's due for next Wednesday. Practice problems, those are due for next class. Okay, now what we're going to do is talk about probability and normal distribution. So one of the things that we're kind of touching upon is continuous probability. Okay, and that's how it fits into normal distribution. So first of all, probability is we're going to break it up into 2 parts where we have discrete and we have continuous. So discrete, that's kind of the easier one to see off the top. Like if we have a bucket full of pumpkins, what's the probability that we pull out like a all white one, or what's the probability of whatever, right? You need to know how many pumpkins are in the in the barrel, and how many ones in that barrel satisfy that condition that are like all white or whatever, right? And so that's an example of some discrete probability where there's like individual pumpkins, right? Whereas like if you're thinking about another fall time thing, cider doesn't really work the same way, right? So cider, you can't just get one cider from the barrel. It's like the amount of cider that you get. And see, that's the same thing with numbers. So like if you think about numbers from 1 to 10 as integers or as real numbers, as integers, there's 10 numbers there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so the probability of picking a number is 1 out of 10, right? Because there's one number that you're picking, 10 possibilities. That's easy, right? That's the discrete. With a continuous, with the real numbers, it's a little bit more complex because the idea is like picking, there's more than just 10 there. There's infinite many numbers right there. So to pick the probability of picking uh, any one of those 10 numbers is 0 because they're like it doesn't take up so much space in that you're looking at. Like kind of think about like with the cider, you can't really get one. And so the thing, instead of getting just one cider, what makes more sense is getting groups of cider, right? So portions of it. And so that's kind of how we look at the probability of the numbers from 1 to 10. It's not like individual numbers. What's the probability of getting that number? It's the portions of numbers. So we think about like how much, like the range is kind of what's important. So like, for example, here's the probability. Say with the cider, we have a barrel full of cider, and we want people to take 16 fluid ounces. And so let's say I have a jug and I'm pouring 16 fluid ounces. What's the probability that I'm going to get 16 fluid ounces? 0, right? It's not going to be exactly 16 fluid ounces. Or here I have, what's the probability of getting 14 fluid ounces, right? Still 0 because it's just one number. And so actually, usually, but you think about like, yeah, but I get 14 fluid ounces. That's how does that work? And the thing is like, it's not exactly 14 fluid ounces. There's some rounding that occurs. And so what you have there is a natural range that occurs. And so like maybe it's between like 1 fluid ounce or half an ounce, right? So it's like if it's more than a 13.5 fluid ounces, you'll round that up to 14 fluid ounces. Or if it's less than 14.5 fluid ounces, then you'll round it down. And that's a definite, easy calculation that we can make. So what we're going to do is we're going to assume that people usually leave with 16 fluid ounces from that cider, and that the amount of cider that people take is normally distributed, okay, from the barrel, right? And so here's some different things that we're going to ask. We're going to know, what is the probability that I take 14 fluid ounces, or what's the probability that we take 14 and 17 fluid ounces? Or between 14 and 17 fluid ounces. And we kind of discussed that just a second ago, but we're going to assume that it's normal distribution with a standard deviation of 3 fluid ounces. So that's the population standard deviation, okay? And then we'll also go into another thing that's kind of similar in just a second. It'll make sense. So anyways, so remember we said before, 14 fluid ounces, not possible. What we can do less than 14 fluid ounces. And in order to do that, what we would do is P norm, right? So let's kind of look at what this looks like. When we graph it out, here we have our graph here. Let me change my pen color. Yeah. All right. Anyways, I know I said I changed my pen color. So this is the mean. And the idea is like we have 14. Right here is 16 is the mean right here. And so if it's less than 14, 14 is less than 16. So we'll say it's right here. And so then what we're looking for is the probability that it's any of these values that are less than 14, right? And so the way we would put that in would be P norm, and then we put in the value of x. In this case, it's 14. And then we put in the mean, which is 16. 3 is the standard deviations. And we want lower tail to be what's going to the left. So that means we want it to be true, right? Cool. And so then if we put that into R, the value that we'd get is about 0.2525, okay? Which kind of makes sense. I mean, it's not going to be exactly how I drew this because I just eyeballed it. It wasn't really, I don't know. I just knew that it was less than 16, so I didn't know what that area would look like. But I just knew it would be less than 50% because anything less than 16, the mean would be 50% because we are assuming this is normally distributed, right? So anyways, the next one, so between 14 and 17 fluid ounces, right? So it's like, people typically do between 16 fluid ounces, so it's 14 and 17 fluid ounces. All right, so let's kind of think about what that looks like. So once again, I'll do my drawing. Right, so this is the mean, which is 16, and then I'm going to actually do this in. We have 14 here and 17 here. And we want to know what is the area between 14 and 17. So this area right in here, right? And so then what we do is, like I said, like we did before, we find the area, P norm, right? Because it's the percentile of this, and we are, we can just put one value in here. So there's like a few different ways that we can do this. Let's see. So one way that we could do it is like we could focus on, actually here, I'll just do it this way, is that we'll do the area of 17. So we'll do the area of 17, which will include this, and notice that it's not going to get all this pink. But like we'll find the area from 14, which is this area in white. And if we subtract the white from the yellow, then all we're left with is that pink area, right? That magenta look. So let me, so I'm going to erase some of this. So make my colors a little bit more coordinated. Let's see, the yellow first, because that's what we're subtracting. We're starting with from 17. So that's, that's white. So P norm, and this is from 17. The mean is 16, standard deviation is 3, lower tail is, and since we're going this way, that means lower tail is true. And then what we're going to do is on that same line, I don't have the same, like I can't just extend it, so I'm going to do this kind of vertically, is we're going to subtract the that white area, right? And so then what's going to happen is it's just going to remove all of this right here from the yellow, right? The part we know we don't want. And then what we're left with is that fuchsia. And so it'd be P norm, not 17, 14, excuse me. Still 16 as a mean, standard deviation 3, and lower tail is still going in that same direction. So that means lower tail is, should be true. And that value that I get back would be about 0.3781. Okay? Let's keep on going a little bit more. And so the other thing that like I kind of throw in with the practice problems is throwing in the bounds of one standard deviation. So to kind of put this into perspective, if we have, sorry, I'm struggling with my headphone cable. So once again, we drew this as our bell curve. Here is 16. And remember, our standard deviations are 3. This is all we need. We don't need R to calculate 3 standard deviations. It's just one standard deviation, excuse me. So it's like this one standard deviation away. So that means the lower one is 16 minus 3, which is 13. And the upper side would be 19. That's it. So 13 and 19, that's the bounds for one standard deviation away. Okay. Anyways, I think that's good. See you all later. Good luck. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please press the like button below. It lets me know I'm doing something right. If you have any questions about any of the content, please send a message to both me and the rest of the teaching team in Canvas, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Don't send it through normal email. You will not get as fast response. If you have any suggestions for how I can make these videos better, please leave in the comments below. Don't forget to roundhouse kick the subscribe button and ring the bell to get notified for the next video. Anyways, I think that's good for now. See y'all later. Bye.